Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Niger Innis Presents The Trump Revolution, a part of the TvAbraham network. Well, folks, we have a special treat today because on our airwaves, you are going to see one of the most brilliant singers, songwriters, actresses, and activists for the MAGA nation, if you will. Of course, I'm talking about my guest, Joy Villa, an old friend. Welcome to the program, Joy.
Niger, it's so good to be on with you. This is awesome. Thank you for inviting me.
It is my pleasure and honor to have you on. Joy has been in the entertainment industry since the tender age of 14. And even though Joy looks like she's barely 18, trust me, she's been in the business for quite some time. Many of you know her songs. Many of them are record breaking, have been Grammy considered. And speaking of the Grammys, you'll also, for those of you that are not so musically inclined, but more activist in orientation, you'll remember that Joy went to several prominent award gatherings, including the Grammys, with spectacular outfits. Not only their beauty and fashion is beyond question, but the statements. She's wore a pro-life dress, which I remember. She's wore several MAGA, Make America Great Again dresses, and she's of course wore several dresses supporting Donald Trump when he was a candidate and now that he is again president of the United States. Joy, you are one of the early, in fact, I think you're the first person within the entertainment industry to actually come out and openly support Donald Trump. For those of us amateurs out here like myself, we've always, and conservative amateurs at that, we've always viewed Hollywood as dominated by the left, controlled by Democrats, and not only just, centrist Democrats, but far left Democrats that despise MAGA nation, if you will. How has it been? I mean, because you've been doing this for over 10 years. How
Mhm.
is it that you can navigate as successfully as you have the entertainment arena, which is dominated by liberals or Democrats, but at the same time, without compromise, support the conservative revolution?
Well, it's interesting. I actually started in the entertainment world at 5.
Oh,
So,
forgive
yeah,
me.
I started professionally it was 14, but actually professionally it was like 11. So 5 I started in musical theater. That and I do consider that entertainment because obviously I was on
Absolutely.
stage and
Sure.
you know, acting classes and learned costuming and learned music and sang in choir. And then I was in a theater group that we toured around Santa Barbara, which is where I'm from, California, and we moved to Manhattan for a little bit and mostly California. I grew up, and then Burbank when I was a teenager. And yeah, and I hosted local television at 14, so it was a lot. I always had my eyes on the prize of Hollywood. So when we moved to Hollywood, Burbank, California, when I was a teenager, it was a shock. You're right. It's Democrat controlled. It's satanic. They hate God. They hate Christians. They hate, saving babies. They hate anything that has to do. Now they really hate Trump. But just because that agenda is so outward doesn't mean there's not conservatives in the back end working. So, fast forward to wearing the Trump dress at the Grammys in 2016, and then 17 and the Emmys and consecutive every year after that, wearing Trump build the wall theme gowns,
Yep, I
pro-life
remember that
themes.
one.
Yes, I mean, I just use as my own personal activism. I am a red carpet activist. I coined the term, and I was the first in Hollywood. The only other person I heard was Matthew McConaughey, where he was like, he said something very neutral, like
Yeah, it
maybe
was neutral. It wasn't pro
and
Trump.
he wasn't pro-Trump. He's just like, be we should not have
Just be
slurs.
reasonable. The not
Yeah,
suffer from
that's
Trump
exactly. You
derangement
remember that.
syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. And which was like, shocking for anybody
Sure.
in Hollywood to say
Oh,
be
look,
reasonable.
let me tip my hat to him. I don't want to dismiss what he
It's a
did.
big deal that he said
It,
that.
it, it was a lot of courage on his part, particularly since I think he's actually a registered Democrat.
I didn't know that because he lives in Texas and he talks about God, and I know someone who read his book and said, he's I mean, who knows? Everybody's a flamboyant
Democrats were
character in Hollywood.
and look, I'm speculating. I didn't check his registration, but the reason I'm speculating this, Joy, is that he was recruited quite heavily to run for governor of Texas as a Democrat.
Oh, so then he probably is a registered Democrat. I mean, it doesn't mean they can't flip parties. Trump was a Democrat too.
That's
Back
true.
in the
That's true.
day, the Democrats were much closer to moderate conservatives than they are now. Now we have something called the far left, right? Which is like it's unseemingly. And the fact that Democrats don't call out their own and say that's not us shows that they're in it because they're very hive-minded. So how did I stay authentic? Truly my faith in Jesus Christ, truly my family, my friends, and just this stubbornness of like, oh, you don't want us to be who we are? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you loud and proud. It's like the more hate I get, and I get death threats. They call me coon and all this, I got tons of these, yeah, the same slurs I'm sure you get, right? These, like, if you're a black conservative, like you're a
Yep.
race traitor, a
Rio,
coon, I'm a
all the
bed
nonsense.
witch,
Yeah.
I'm a monkey, I'm a freaking out. I mean, it's a
And
loving
this from
laugh.
left-wing folk that are
Yeah.
holier than thou on being offensive to minorities.
Oh, I mean, they are the loving left with their white fragility, but how dare I step out of line like a bad little slave, you know?
Well,
So,
what is amazing about you, Joy, is that you have successfully navigated, and regardless of these trolls out there sending death threats and calling you names, your songs have popped to the top of the charts. I think you had a song "Make the Static" that was actually premiered on ESPN, which is
yes, you've
fantastic.
done your research. That's right. It did. When
That's really
Serena Williams was hitting a racket and it was like a whole like special sports thing and my song was playing and I'm like that was my first big taste because I made that recording independently in 2014. I flew to the UK. I was living in Denmark at the time. I've lived overseas a lot, toured 39 countries, just independent. I mean, God put this fire in my heart to just go after it, go after my dreams since I was a little girl. And my parents helped me. They told me you can do it, be an artist, go for it. Unfortunately, they passed away when I was in my early 20s, a long time ago, almost 20. Well, yeah, that was like 17 years, 16 years ago they passed away. So I was orphaned very quickly and I had to fend for myself. And I got taken advantage of a lot by Hollywood. I was trafficked by an agency, actually an acting
God.
agency. I never talked about it before, but because I'm doing a movie about human trafficking,
Yes,
I
Breaking
think
Shadows.
that's right. That's right. So, yeah, it was an acting agency that told me this is what all the girls do to get movie roles. And it started off as just like you'll go on dates with people, and then it turned into much worse. And then you're paid for it, and they're like, this is what we do. You want to make it in this industry? And it was awful. I
Like,
mean, I had been propositioned since I was 18. Luckily, my parents didn't let me go into mainstream Hollywood at 12, even though I started modeling at 12. But I did local events, I did runway events for Dillard's and like local, like, things I would perform at local events like that, which I think is great for kids. They did not let me go into Hollywood until I was 18. Thank God, because I got propositioned for pornography. I didn't do it, thank God, but propositioned for all kinds of stuff. But a few years later, after my parents had died, Satan came in
mm,
and it's like a slow boiling frog. They tempt you with these little things. They put you in commercials and this, and then all of a sudden you're having sex with strangers for money.
oh my
And
God.
it was so debilitating. I got caught up in occults and witchcraft as well in Hollywood. I mean, my story has a lot of details. I'm writing a
I'm
book
waiting
about
for the book and the life story of Joy Vian.
Oh, yes, my friend. I'm writing a book about it to spill all the details because, of course, I had a lot of shame and I thought now I'm a conservative, like kind of icon. Girls look up to me, women look up to me.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I can't say this, but now having met Jean Marie Davis, who went through 20 years of human trafficking, over 20 years, from age 2 to 29, this woman spoke at
Oh my God.
March for Life. She's been on Fox News. She's incredible. She's 40 now and she's been out she's been yeah she's 40, so she's been out for 10 years, and this woman went through the most brutal human trafficking from she was groomed at 2 years old by her own parents,
Mm.
and then went into that world and became a pimp herself and made $5 million for one pimp and bought this all this stuff and then lost all the money and drugs and got pregnant by a pimp, and finally reached out to a pregnancy center, and she said, I want what you have, to this one lady who was there. And the lady said, I can't give you what I have. Her name is Phyllis Phelps. And she said, but I know a man who can. His name is Jesus. So
Wow.
saved, clean, sober, everything, and became a director for a pregnancy center out in New Hampshire. So this movie, Breaking Shadows, is based off her book, which is it's actually based off her story, because the book is good, but it to me it's like it waters it down. But please support the book. It's called Breaking Chains, Breaking Shadows, Breaking Chains. The movie's called Breaking Shadows. You can go to breakingshadowsmovie.com to learn more. And I am playing Jean Marie Davis in the film, and I'm screenwriting. I'm adapting her story to the screen. I'm writing the script right now. And we have Antonio Sabato Jr., our patriot and friend, who is
Outstanding.
directing the film.
All right.
So,
That's
and,
great.